And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I missed the countdown for Eat, Sleep, Podcast, Repeat. I am Sean Hood. That is Dave Taylor.
How's it going, everybody?
And we are here to tell you all about, well, wrestling. We're going to talk wrestling. We are a deep dive into wrestling from FM 99 and 106.9 The Fox. We join you each and every week to discuss everything we can with wrestling. We do interviews, previews, reviews, everything you can think of. We make it happen. And that includes this week when we are previewing NXT Takeover 31, which will be taking place tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the WWE Network. So for tonight, that's our plan. But before we get into that, we got to get the business out of the way. And the business consists of telling you where to find us, mainly FM99.com and 1069thefox.com, right there under the media tab, ESPR. Click it, find us. Go over there. You got your links to our stuff. Takes you to our RSS feed, but you can find us on all of your major podcasting apps. Just search ESPR Wrestling. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. We greatly appreciate it when you do that. Everywhere podcasts can be found, that's where we can be found. And in addition to that, Dave got a notification of some kind. And in addition to that, make sure that you follow us on social media, facebook.com/ESPR99, on the Twitter @ESPR99, and you can email us ESPR@FM99.com. When you follow us on social media, make sure that you go ahead and like the page or account or whatever, and then you turn on your notifications after you follow us, because that will allow you to be notified when we go live just like this, so you can join in and be a part of the discussion. And for tonight, we have, really, we're going to talk about NXT TakeOver, but a couple of things we want to get out of the way right away, just some news that we saw during the week that broke. Lots of stuff that happened this week. We're going to start with one that actually I was discussing with Dave right before we came on, and that is the fact that WWE has officially announced that they will be taking over all of their superstars' Twitch accounts.
Wow.
A lot of the superstars not really happy about that. Paige specifically voiced some frustrations over it, talking about how she built up a community over there, and now WWE gets to swoop in once that work has been done and it's been established, and now WWE will be managing it. The payouts, that what bothered me is something that I saw, and I'd have to verify this again, but something I read was the payouts they would get from things like Twitch would then work against their downside guarantee. Which to me...
You and I have this look of like, wow, because you're making money off your name, so that money belongs to us, which in turn then we're just going to take that out of your guarantee.
Yeah, which to me is really, really crappy. I think I understood that correctly when I read it. I'm allowing for a little bit of leeway here that I may have misunderstood what I was reading, but the way it broke down as far as I was reading it was that they will then hold that against their downside guarantee, which is the money that they're guaranteed in their contract. They get a certain amount of money for merch and this, that, and the other thing, but there's a certain amount of money when they sign on the dotted line that they are guaranteed in their contract. That's their downside guarantee.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here is Talent has 4 weeks to turn over their account, by the way.
Yeah.
So they have 4, and then who will give them a portion of their platform proceeds in return.
Yeah. Portion. So WWE will then be taking over the other portion, and really probably doing nothing to improve these accounts. What it has done, what it allows them to do is get a piece of the pie for doing nothing, and then on top of which it allows them to control the content that is then put on there. Because if they don't like something, it will stop.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Twitter account sometimes, where they sometimes control the content because it's storyline driven. Because
right.
Or maybe it's like a Facebook page that Dean Ambrose doesn't have a Facebook page. I'm just going back, but their storylines being posted about whatever he's doing, promoting Raw. So you're going to see a lot of that and a lot less, maybe what Paige is doing, which is a great way to interact with the fans.
They don't want to do, because up to this point, Adam Cole has one on there. I think it's the Chugs on Twitch. And he goes on there and plays games that he just wants to play, and he's just playing through them. None of them particularly hyped or anything like that at the moment, but I could easily see them forcing these guys to go on there and do streams for like 2K Battlegrounds and this, that, and the other thing to try and influence people to get the game, or they'll work out some deal with another publisher, EA or somebody like that, 2K, and they'll say, hey, we need to get your superstars playing these games and talking them up on their Twitch streams, which again, the more you turn these into commercials for WWE, the less people are going to be interested.
Yeah, because what you're going to do is that they're going to get money from somebody, say like a game that WWE is going to get paid, and say, hey, can you promote this? Can you do this? Can you do kind of like when they do? Now I don't know what the deals are with like Charlotte's commercial with anything, and Sheamus with Cricket Wireless.
Yeah.
It's probably a combo where they're like, hey, give us 2 of your superstars. Do this commercial with us. So maybe it's going to be the same way. What we can reach is the Twitch audience. Everybody likes Paige, and everybody likes Adam Cole, and everybody follows the Miz. So we're going to have them do these things. Which is going to be odd to see like somebody like the Miz, shelling out for a product. Syndicating that by his wife.
That might be the worst example you could possibly give, because Miz does not strike me as somebody that it would be weird to see shilling for something. It would seem weirder to see somebody like Aleister Black or somebody like Kevin Owens, somebody who's supposed to kind of resist the authority above them. It would be weird to see those characters. If Retribution gets a Twitch, I'm going to be really upset. The whole thing bothers me because I understand people are going to say, oh, well, WWE made them famous and that's why they have these big followings on Twitch and yada, yada, yada. Well, here's the thing. Anybody can follow somebody on Twitch for absolutely free. You do not have to subscribe to that person. Yeah. It is not required to be able to interact, watch, and, be a part of their stream. The reason people subscribe is because they're enjoying interacting with the person they're there with. It is not because WWE did something to make them want to subscribe. So that's what bothers me on that end.
Think about like when Ted DiBiase, Jr., by the way, he used to do those like posse parties, whatever they were called, like before house shows and stuff, because that was his way to interact with fans to kind of get himself over, because, and this is another way for stars to get over. Like, hey, I'm going to watch Paige's thing or whatever else, or, well, Adam Cole's a pretty funny guy. I have a connection with him. So all these things that guys did, Zack Ryder at one time, that had a connection with fans.
That was the only reason anybody cared about Zack Ryder. The only reason.
Yeah, but that's what made a connection. DiBiase had that. Not to give him a huge following, but people, they respected the guy. It's like, okay, well, now I'm going to be emotionally attached to you, other than just being a guy that can't win matches on TV. So.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that. Is what it is. But again, not a big fan of it. We'll see how this transitions, how this goes. We'll see if anybody like drops their platform or something like that, or drops their Twitch streams, and just doesn't want to do them anymore due to this interference. It's bothersome to me. To me, if it was I would tell, if I'm WWE and it's it's about the licensing of your name and this, that, and the other thing. All right, fine. You know what? You don't want me to be called Real Paige WWE or whatever it is on Twitch. Fine. I'll call myself Soraya, which is my real name, and I will do it that way. And you should have nothing to do with that. It shouldn't be, oh, we're just taking over your accounts. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. It's bothersome to me, and especially the whole point of like with their downside guarantee, that whole iffy gray area. I don't know. I don't really like this.
I'm curious. I'm looking to see how many WWE superstars have a Twitch.
Well, I can tell you right away. Xavier Woods does. Adam Cole does. Paige does. Big E does. Lana's on Rusev, so that one doesn't really count. Cesaro has one. Tyler Breeze has one.
Yeah. And he shares his with King Baron and Sean Spears. So maybe that's part of it too.
Did you say King? Did you say King Baron?
That's what he goes by in here. Apparently,
that's just funny because I've never actually heard anybody say that. Yeah, it was weird.
But I have the list in front of me. So, and this is all the wrestlers, and some of them have combined accounts, which can be part of it too. So Selena Vega, Drew Gulak. You mentioned.
And Selena Vega is absolutely not story oriented. It has nothing to do with that. I think it's called A to Z on the tube or something like that.
Yeah, A to Z on YouTube. Oh, very good.
Yeah. It has absolutely nothing to do with WWE. And she does things on there like involving her cosplay, and she talks about different topics and this, that, and the other thing. Like, it has nothing to do with WWE. Hey, if you want to start some kind of platform for them to do these things on, then do it. But don't, once they've decided to establish a following and whatnot on Twitch, and you've seen it be successful. That's what kills me. It's not like they waited and these guys started doing this and they were like, well, wait. Well, if you're going to start doing that, we're going to, do this. No. You waited until there was a bunch of them already on there. They had been on there for a long time in a lot of cases and had built up following subscribers and things like that, and then decided it was time for you to get some of that. and it really makes me angry. But it's just bothersome, man. It's just bothersome. So that's my rant for today.
Okay. Well, didn't they take that and with Zack Ryder, and did they take his thing and then they put it on YouTube but they had creative control, so wasn't cool anymore.
No, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't cool to begin with, let's be honest. But they did that to Zach as well. So
okay. I'm just going to transition to this. I know you don't want to talk about it a whole lot, but the best man did the interview, which kind of relates in the whole Twitch thing because he still has his own program and he brags about that in AEW. But talking about some of the other things, similar to what Dean Ambrose said and the other guys who left WWE and what they tried to make him do. So with Rusev, they tried to give him the silly angle. The wedding thing with Mandy Rose not Mandy Rose. Who came back for that one night? Liv
Morgan.
Morgan.
Wow, Liv Tyler. Yeah, she showed up. You didn't see her?
Yeah. So that
the
was
whole thing with Bobby Lashley, Liv Morgan, and Lana. Yeah.
Yeah, was a one-off. There was no plans for that. I will give you credit because I was like, oh, this is going to be great. They're going to do something, and they completely blanked the bed with that. So he had disappointment with that. They were going to give him a dysfunction of some kind. He wasn't crazy about that. And they hated Aiden English. And man, did they hate Aiden English.
Well, now here's the thing. That's what he and Aiden say. And I mean, I'm not arguing with them necessarily. I'm just like, you always have to take these things with a grain of salt. You're hearing that side of the story. Now, what we've heard, what I've been told all through my life is that if you take one side and you take the other side, the truth is somewhere in the middle. So you never really know what the truth was unless you were there. But I wouldn't be shocked at all to find out that they weren't crazy high on Aiden English. Now, that being said, I was never crazy high on Aiden English outside of the tag team that he had.
With Gotch, with Simon Gotch.
The Vaudevillains. I loved the Vaudevillains in NXT, and they got brought up, and I hated it. But is what it is, but it just didn't seem like, I don't know.
I mean, it was a lot of trash. Like I said, there's two sides to it, but you can probably see his frustrations were.
Oh, without a doubt. And I'm not saying at all that Rusev did nothing, that WWE did nothing wrong, and he had no reason to be frustrated. No. I'm sure they did plenty wrong because that guy was a main eventer on a silver platter for you, and you just ruined it. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they were perfectly, they did everything right in this situation. They absolutely did not. So.
No, because even the whole Rusev thing, which I know we argued about because you think it's more of a chant, and I thought, it got him over to some extent. That's two times. They had main event potential with this guy, or at least put him in a good storyline in the mid card, and trash.
Yep, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. But it just the only thing about it is like I don't know. The interview didn't do much for me because it was really nothing we hadn't heard from other people before, which also lends credence to, some of it's probably true. But at the same time, it was like, all right, well, we're just kind of at this point, it just seems like piling on from guys who went to AEW. I'm not trying to be a jerk about that. It's just the way it comes across when I hear them talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think that they absolutely did things wrong. They mishandled Rusev like crazy because that guy, he never should have lost to John Cena at WrestleMania. I'm just going to put that out there right now. And if he was going to lose to John Cena at WrestleMania, which I maintain you can come back from, the problem is that people. I view it like this: when with people like John Cena and before him it was Triple H, and before him it was we had this Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's all this laundry list of guys. With a few exceptions, people would book you to that point, and it was like that point was like the end. And it was like, so they never had plans beyond that. It was like, okay, we're going to get him to this moment. Now what? And so it's like they get him to the match with John Cena and he loses. Okay, he loses. John Cena is John Cena. I mean, he can beat people. I'm not going to argue with that. But you needed something
for John Cena to lose. That would have been the time.
Well, it would have been, but I'm not. But I'm throwing that argument out the window. Forget that. He could still beat Rusev, and Rusev still could have been fine. You just needed a follow-up planned after that, so that Rusev could then get some steam back. But no, we had nothing. Literally, once we got to that point, when he lost to John Cena at WrestleMania, it was over. They had no real plans for him after that. No long-term plans. Nothing that made any kind of sense. None of it made any sense, which is why it all felt so terrible and went downhill for him. Yeah. So it's like, it wasn't John Cena. It's that the writing never went past that point. So we got him to this point and we said, done, And then we realized, oh yeah, crap, we still got to do something with him tomorrow.
Okay, because people want to complain, it's Cena this, Cena that. No, if you can still make this guy look strong in defeat or somewhere down the road, and here we're going to give you a marriage, dating problems with Lana, and we're going to have her feud with Dolph Ziggler,
which was terrible.
Oh, and now they're engaged because they shouldn't post that online.
Yeah, they posted that online, and and that's things we got to take into account too. That was dumb on their part. They had a storyline. Now maybe we didn't all love it, but they had a storyline, and they went online and ruined that storyline. Okay, so we have to take a little bit of here. Like we have to look at that as evidence that probably not everything that happened there was WWE's fault. There was clearly some mistakes made on both sides, and that's why when these podcasts come out, I'm like, there's some info there, but you have to take all of it with a grain of salt. But we mentioned WrestleMania, so we'll talk about this next thing here. WrestleMania still in Tampa next year?
Is it? We don't know.
I don't know. Most likely at this point.
Yes, signs are leaning this way. Which if they have a WrestleMania with fans next year, and I think at some point, they're going to push for something.
By next year, they'll absolutely have fans. Now, whether it'll be 80,000 or whatever it is, I don't know. They'll absolutely have fans.
Yeah, because right now it's currently scheduled to March 28th in LA. But a lot of talk is that they're going to have it in Tampa next year, so they can use that gosh darn pirate ship and bring Kiari Sane back for one night, and then have it in LA the following year.
It would be worth it.
if they're, by the way, I got a Kiari Sane story. But Tampa would make sense because the superstars aren't traveling right now, other than just to Tampa or to Orlando. This keeps everybody together. I mean, other than flying on the WWE jet or whatever, but it keeps everybody at home base, and also gets Tampa done, so you don't have to go to Tampa in 2022, which is do LA out there.
Right, which they're doing. I mean, they're trying to. They're not great at this planning. They're kind of going. They're reacting instead of planning ahead, and it's a bummer because then you end up with situations where people get sick. It's like Retribution and several women from NXT and the main roster and whatnot all ended up exposed or I don't know if there's many official diagnoses. WWE won't tell us that anymore.
No,
they keep that real close to the vest, which I think is screwed up on their part. They're making a lot of crappy calls backstage that I'm really not enjoying lately. I saw a report the other day, and granted, it's a Meltzer report, so I take it again with a grain of salt.
Well, you read Meltzer.
I mean, I still see his reports. I just usually, read them while I'm on the toilet, so I'm focused on something else. It was some report about, what was it? When this past pay-per-view, Clash of Champions, when they advertised Nikki Cross still against Bayley, even though they knew 3 days prior or something like that she wasn't available. They kept advertising Nikki Cross, and they brought up that. They said that he said he's spoken with people at the company numerous times about why they do that because it's really not fair to the viewers. And the general consensus is, why shouldn't we? They work for us. We should be able to advertise them if we want to. And it's like, if that's truly their thought process, man, that is a crappy thought process because you are outright lying to people, even though you're not going to be able to deliver that. It's one thing if you are really holding out hope. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, maybe things will clear up and we'll be wrong and, she'll be able to be there. But maybe something will happen, right? It's one thing if you think that. It's another thing when you know that they're not going to be able to be there and then you still advertise them. It's a bald-faced lie. This isn't storyline. This isn't anything. It's a lie to manipulate people into watching.
That's been going on for years. Think when Austin at Survivor Series.
Yeah,
I guess it was in '99 when we knew the reports were he can't wrestle. His neck was damaged, injured, everything else. So they waited until the pay-per-view to do the car angle to take him out of the match. That other than the casual wrestling fan, you knew he was going to wrestle. It's like, how are they going to do this? And then
here's my thing. At least back then you had the benefit of not even the majority of the wrestling audience read the internet back then. It was a small section of the wrestling audience. Plus, while yes, Austin wasn't going to be able to wrestle and they waited until that night to do something about it, at least storyline wise, they did something about it that night. They included a storyline, and I agree with you. They should have said earlier that he wasn't going to be able to perform.
Or hit him on Monday at Raw.
Or something like that. Yeah, done something else. Yeah. But what you could have done, but at least there you did a storyline to cover the fact that he wasn't going to be there. You know what I mean? And I don't like that either, but it's better than what we got with Clash of Champions, where they just knew days out and nope, we're just going to keep advertising. And then that night we'll say, oh, sorry, she's not here. It's like, what? Like, that's nonsense. It just goes back to the kind of their planning and their thought process about all this that just doesn't make me feel like they have everybody's best interest at heart. That the booking is always, I don't know, man. It's like we pray for them to do long-term booking, but then they need to adjust in these moments and they don't.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, man, we just can't win with them on either side of it. As far as WrestleMania still being in Tampa, I couldn't care less. If the world is not back to normal and fans aren't really allowed or they're not allowed in large numbers, I don't care where you have WrestleMania. Like, have it in Tampa. That's fine. Keep everybody there. It's smarter to keep everybody there.
Yeah, I just don't see it being in the stadium. I mean, because are you going to build this gigantic set for nobody? Or are you just going to, do it in, the Tampa arena or whatever?
Which they could. Yeah, where I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Where the Lightning play. Your NHL Stanley Cup champions.
But by the way. Yeah, those guys, they're I guess they're okay. Which, by the way, they did something awful the other day after they won. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. Letting everybody drink out of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, not good.
That was a bad plan.
No, a year ago was fine.
the Amalie Arena, is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did not play there, obviously, because they played all the hockey games in Canada. But.
Right. But it just bothers me that this is all this stuff seems so ill planned and so mismanaged. And now have you seen that they're changing the locations of different places? Like now NXT is going to be filmed somewhere else and 205 Live is going to be filmed somewhere else. Like they're trying to keep all the rosters separate now. But what kills me is that they have some people who live together. Like, I don't know what you think is going to happen here. I mean, Mia, I think was not Mia Yim because she lives with
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee, which then also, by the way, hey, wasn't Mia Yim one of the people that got pulled because she might have been exposed? Because Retribution got pulled, right? Because they may have been exposed. That means Keith Lee might have been exposed.
Yeah, we saw him on Raw Monday.
Yeah, so I'm kind of throwing my hands up in the air here, like, what's going on? And then, not to be a jerk, I saw a picture yesterday or today of independent wrestler named Brandy Lauren hanging out with Shotzi Blackheart. And I'm like, and I'm not saying they can't hang out. I'm not at all saying they can't hang out as long as they're being safe and stuff like that. But it's just like you clearly have some mixing and mashing going around. Unless you guys are going to operate in a bubble type environment, you're going to have infections break out. So you really might want to start looking at a bubble.
Yeah, because again, that's been a problem as we've seen in the NFL with now we got, as we learned today, Cam Newton. And then and of course the Tennessee Titans have a mess going on.
Oh man, that's a rough situation over there.
We don't know the story with what, of course, our old president and everything else where. You just don't know, and you're hanging out with the wrong people. You don't know where somebody's been, or if they're systematic, and they're carrying it. You don't know. I mean, we're not going to get the whole medicine side of this, but there's got to be some common sense,
Oh, without a doubt,
and with her hanging out, you said with other stars who are not in the group. I mean, unless you're eating dinner, 6 feet apart, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. Jeffrey had a question about WrestleMania. Could they pull WrestleMania 2 and broadcast it from different places? It's actually not a bad idea from the fact that if they scale down their set, they could still sell tickets. Now, I don't know the production cost of that would be.
Right.
Because everything's got to be huge nowadays.
My thing would be, I don't think that serves you a lot of benefit because, again, you'll have you're gonna be separating people to two different locations. Okay, why? Like what? How does that benefit us to separate them to two different locations? It means you're sending people to different places, which means that somebody's traveling. So then that's unnecessary. And then if you're going to allow fans, why are we going to double our chances in two different locations? That just doesn't work for me in that regard. I understand the money, man. I'm trying to think about this from the perspective of what makes sense. I know that they don't really focus on what makes sense a lot, but I'm going to try and stay there.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if they have it in the arena, obviously those screens are gone. But that's months from now. I mean, what are we?
Yeah.
October, March, 5 months from now.
Yeah, we'll see. The world could have turned around by then. You never know. We'll have to see. But that takes us to let's move right on from the news. I mean, we've ranted enough about this stuff. Let's go on in and dive into our preview for NXT Takeover 31. It's going to be, you know what? The takeovers are always good.
I thought they did a great job building this up. I was impressed with NXT on Wednesday.
I thought they did a good job, all things considered, because this is a very rushed takeover.
Yeah.
So all things considered, I think that they did a good job, but I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. The one match on the show that was run through the matches who doesn't involve a title, but is, I guess, a grudge match, if you will, is a Kushida.
Oh man, tell me what you really think about him. Kushida versus Velveteen Dream. All right, here's where it goes for me. Better be Kushida.
Yeah, better be. I didn't want to say the other guy's name, but
if you think that fans are going to be okay, Kushida as recently they kind of seem like they're kind of building him back up a little bit, and if you think that fans are going to accept that, and then you have him lose to Velveteen Dream, oh, you're wrong. Oh, be prepared for the rest of your show to be hijacked online, because it will be.
Yes.
It absolutely will be. So Kushida better get this win. That's all I can say to you.
Yeah, maybe this is the match that doesn't kick off the show. I just went because the one non-title match, they're going to stick,
right,
maybe somewhere else. So it's not a factor. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you though. It's got to be that guy. So.
Why bother building him back up and doing these promo videos for him and stuff like that, and talking about now how he's now like moving to the U.S. was such a trial for him, and now that he's here, he's established, his family's here, he's 100% focused on the ring, and he's got this aggression and. Like, why even bother focusing on that if he's going to lose this match?
I give credit. The packages they put together are great, and he's had some good ones, outstanding ones. I thought the package with this was good, too, for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, Santos Escobar versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. I love the Swerve nickname.
The Swerve nickname is fine. The Swerve character bores me. This week, actually, was the first time Swerve has been interesting to me. He's talented in between the ropes. I'm not denying that, but the character has been very boring up until this point. One-dimensional, nothing exciting. I could see Scott after this past week taking the title off Escobar, but I don't want them to. I like Escobar. The dude oozes charisma. He is just. I really feel like he's a guy who is capable of making the Cruiserweight Championship mean something and be seen as a vital, like, integral, important part of the show. If they keep giving him meaningful wins and build him up as dangerous.
What is this group?
Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah. I always feel like when they're starting to build this up, this is kind of like with a previous match where, okay, if you're building this guy up, making him look big, he's the guy that's got to be winning. He's the guy that has to keep the title. So I'm going to go with you, and the Escobar should retain in this match.
Agreed.
Hey, by the way, he says their feud has been pretty decent too, according to Jeff Ray. It's such a shame no one watches 205 Live. Yeah, I forget that. Sorry.
Yeah, well, most of us forget that's on, so don't worry. It's not your fault because WWE forgets to tell a lot of people that it's on.
Which is amazing. Run promos during the show. You run promos for everything else.
I'm going to be honest with you. I had hopes, but realistically, I knew that 205 Live would be a joke. Would be a disaster. The second I saw the opening video, and I remember this when I saw the video for 205 Live, and it was a bunch of ninjas. I was like, oh well, this is dumb, and I was like, this is clearly not something they're taking seriously, and that's been the case for pretty much the entire run of 205 Live. Centering it around the cruiserweights, guaranteed that Vince would not care, and it would get forgotten about. They really, honest to God, just like NXT, 205 Live should be handled in a bubble away from Vince McMahon. It should be handed off to somebody else who cares about the product and is going to actually invest the time to get the talent over.
There are times where I do feel like Vince's hands are in NXT because of, I think they hold Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Dakota, or whoever was over for dinner. I just thought that just...
Candice?
Yeah.
Tegan?
Tegan, yeah. That just screamed Vince McMahon for me.
See, I didn't think so because they've done these dinner angles a bunch of times.
I don't know.
This one didn't seem any different to me than the other ones, except Tegan happened to be there. So it seemed pretty on par for what they've been doing for the last couple months.
Yeah.
So,
next match is for the NXT North American Championship. How about Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano?
Damian Priest just got that title. He better not lose it yet.
Here's the thing I'm trying to figure out, because the reverse momentum, because the end of NXT, of course, Johnny Gargano wins his match with Candice LeRae. The way they've been teasing the power couple,
Yeah, but they teased the power couple before the last pay-per-view too, and it didn't work. I think this is going to become a running thing with them. They're going to constantly find themselves in situations no, you know what? That might not be what happens. What actually might be what happens is they keep talking about how, they'll both become champions. It'll be amazing. One of them will become champion on one night, not including the other one. And it will cause friction.
You can't split up a married couple. Do we need that?
Yeah, you can. You just don't have them interact with each other anymore. In any event, I mean, they didn't interact with each other for a while when they first started anyway.
No, they didn't.
So, I mean, you could easily just get them away from each other. Like, you could very easily just be like, whoever it is that's mad could just be like, I need to do this on my own and go do their own thing and then just not be a part of it. I don't see Damian Priest losing the title just yet.
All right. I think this is going to be like a hot potato kind of thing because, I don't know how sold they are, Damian Priest, because it seemed like before he got the title, he's kind of like him to lose again. I'm going to go Johnny Gargano here.
I hate you. I mean, okay, sure. I need Damian Priest to win. He's on my fantasy team.
Okay, well there you go. Because I'm also going to go in this match for the NXT Women's Championship, Io Shirai versus
Candice LeRae.
I'm going to go with Candice in this one.
Now, see, if I was going to pick one of them to win tonight, I would pick Candice. I don't know if I'm picking Candice. I don't know. I feel like
the character's gotten better.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
They've grown into it.
My thing though is that I don't feel like Io and Candice have a really hot story going on yet, and I feel like when Io drops this title, it needs to mean something. It can't just be like out of nowhere. Like Candice is, she won a fatal 4-way or something like that to become the Battle Royal. That's what it was, like 2 weeks ago or something.
Okay, I will say this. It was a good Battle Royal, but I hated the fact that they it's just a cliche of using the steps.
Yeah.
And then who's the girl from the Gladiator girl who
Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, her. Yeah.
Casey Catanzaro?
Yeah, because she had all the stunts and everything. It's like, the handstand's pretty impressive, but it's like, okay, we see it with Kofi, we see it with Naomi. I
like it. But, it is what it is.
Every Battle Royal is going to have this. Every Royal Rumble is going to have this.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if you're going to book people in them to do those, then yes, everyone is going to have that, Dave. Because then what happens is when you throw Kofi out or you throw Casey Catanzaro out or whatever it is, and they don't do that, people are going to be upset and boo, and they're just going to be mad about it, and they're going to dump on things.
Something different.
Yeah, no, I get to see people just get thrown out normally. The other 29 contestants in like the Royal Rumble, I don't care. I don't need to see somebody. I don't need to see somebody else just fall out.
Well, sometimes it's Morrison, though. He didn't last long in this past Royal Rumble. Jeffrey says, after seeing that picture with both of them holding the belts, I really felt like they can give them to both of them.
Hate you, Jeffrey.
Anyways, on my side. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hey, there's your evidence right there. You're wrong. Anyways.
So who are you going with? I'm going with Candice.
Jeffrey. I'm going with Io. I don't think she drops it here yet. I think, and okay. I could be wrong. Like I said, when I first went into this, I was like, but I don't know. She could drop it, but I'm going with Io just because I want it to be bigger when she drops it than this quick thrown together takeover.
Will this be, because their styles are completely different? What kind of match will this be?
Well, you say they're completely different. I mean, I don't know if I'd say they're that different.
Just the way Io with the ropes and everything, the flying around, and
Candice does some flying. She doesn't do a ton of flying, but she can. But I mean, and they're both technical wrestlers, so I mean, like this, I don't see this being that weird.
Jeffrey says, "Trust me, I don't want them to get it either."
So it's. I mean, I see this being a pretty straightforward match between the two of them.
Yeah.
Well,
one match left on the card.
One match. Wow. All right. Already. Jeez. It's only like a 5-match card or something.
Yeah, it is. They're all going to be 30-minute matches.
Probably. That's the way it should be. In any event, you mean the main event of the evening for the NXT Championship champion Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era.
Loved the segment with them and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
In NXT. Because you know what? You didn't get anybody flipping over tables. You didn't get any cheap shots. You just had a conversation, and if you weren't familiar with Kyle O'Reilly, he sold himself.
Well, and they did a great hype video on him, too.
Yes.
During that show. They did a fantastic hype video on Kyle O'Reilly. I've known about Kyle O'Reilly for a while, so I'm really excited about this match. This should be fantastic.
What happens with the, his group? Because Adam Cole is defending him on the show.
I think it's fairly obvious. Adam and him go face, and Fish and Roderick go heel. And they just split up. I mean, that's the way it seems.
I hate to see Undisputed Era break up. I mean, 3 years.
You know what? I hate to see them break up too, but I would rather them break up here than go to the main roster as the Undisputed Era, and then the legacy of the Undisputed Era be terrible.
Because they'll last like 5 months. Okay, we're gonna break up now. Like,
or they'll just have them in corny crap over and over and over again. So I would rather them just be done with it here, let the entire run of the Undisputed Era be awesome, and then be done with it in NXT while it was still awesome.
So Finn retains, but the Undisputed Era, it's like, did it cost him the match? I mean, not so much maybe Adam Cole, but Fish and the other guy, or
I could see, Fish and Strong getting involved, and then maybe Kyle O'Reilly trying to tell them to back off or something like that. And I could see Adam Cole maybe coming out and getting in their faces, telling them to back off. You know what I mean? And that leading to do a division between the four of them, because it just seems to me that it would be the easiest way to get there, I feel like, in this match without actually having them directly involved in the finish. You get what I mean? Because I don't want anybody to screw Kyle O'Reilly out of this. I want him to win or lose on his own merit. But I feel like the Undisputed Era is going to play into this somehow. The only other option that happens is they shock us all. Kyle O'Reilly wins, and we get the thumbs down moment like from Triple H, where they all attack Kyle O'Reilly. Which I got to be honest, wouldn't hate. But it would be interesting to say the least. But I think Kyle O'Reilly fights valiantly. He loses. Some variation of what I just said ends up happening. And then Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly end up the faces, Strong and Fish end up the heels. And I'm not necessarily even sure that Cole and O'Reilly end up on the same side necessarily. They're just against Fish and Strong.
Well, yeah, or they go their own ways. They all feud with each other. And, we have this, this foursome match or whatever, fatal four-way. Or I just hope. I mean, if he does get distracted, that O'Reilly doesn't lose by the most dangerous move in professional wrestling, which is the roll-up.
It'd be career-ending for him. He'd have to get really checked out by Dr. Joseph Maroon and see if he could ever wrestle again after a vicious roll-up by Finn Balor.
Can we it seems like every week on Raw or SmackDown, because I thought in NXT we're going to get it this week when there's a roll-up. I think it was the main event with Candice rolling up Shirai. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be it, and then it wasn't.
That's because Io's a hell of a competitor. Fighting through that vicious roll-up. Jeffrey saying, I always figured Roderick would become the leader and they'd all turn on Adam Cole. That's a possibility too. Maybe what happens at the end of that is maybe they come out to help Roddy and Adam stops them saying, no, he can do this. He can do this, and back off. He loses. Then he goes in to console Roddy. They all attack him. And Roddy's like, why did you stop them? I could have been champion, this, that, and that, which could also be an interesting storyline watching Cole fight against those guys. But I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to find out. But that's one of the things I like about this is that the finish isn't a foregone conclusion for me. I'm fairly certain Finn Balor is winning. Could go another way, but I'm fairly certain he's winning. But even in the predictability of Finn Balor most likely winning, there's still a bunch of ways this story could go.
And that's the thing when it comes to wrestling, when people are like, oh, I knew this guy was going to win. I knew this guy's going to win. We don't, LOL, Cena wins or Roman Reigns beating Jey Uso. Okay, we know it's going to happen. It's the story you tell us and how we did.
Yeah, how do we get there and what are we doing now? And just because you mentioned it, what they're doing with Roman and Jey is awesome. So let's be honest, Friday was great. So
Hell in the Cell. I didn't expect Jey to get a rematch for Hell in the Cell.
I figured they'd do something like that because they didn't have anybody else for Roman to immediately pivot to, and it would be weird to start a feud at Hell in a Cell.
Because they only got like 3 weeks to build it up, and I guess this would be the blow off. And I know Sasha and Bayley are going to probably head there. I know they're wrestling next week, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Something will happen there. Yeah.
And who's on Raw? Who's in the Cell? Is it Drew versus Randy Orton?
Well, from the reports I read, said the only Cell match is scheduled to be Sasha and Bayley.
Okay.
Now that's what I read. It could not be true.
Because last night, because Roman said, I'm going to put you in Hell in the Cell, basically.
Oh, maybe he did. Yeah, I was reading Okay, well, that must have been an old report I read or something like that. But either way, I mean, so most likely what it would end up being is, like you said, it would end up being Drew and Randy at one end of the show, and then Bayley and Sasha at the other end. And for my money, at this point,
No, it is Hell in a Cell. It is confirmed with Roman and Jey.
So. Okay. Oh, with Roman and Jey?
Yes.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. So are Randy and Drew not in Hell in a Cell?
Oh, well, they're probably going to make it. Well, it's not officially announced yet, so we'll find out on Monday.
Oh my God! The last thing I want is 3 Hell in a Cell matches. And here's the thing: if they put Jay and Roman and Randy and Drew in Hell in a Cell and not Sasha and Bayley, kiss my white butt. I had to stop myself there. Because that is the dumbest decision you could possibly make. That split and feud has been burning for like 3 freaking years.
Yeah. Unless it's the beginning of it, it needs this. I mean, because unless they're going to build and because they only got so many superstars right now.
Right.
They're going to have a rematch at Survivor Series, at the Rumble, at whatever the heck falls between the Survivor Series and the Rumble.
Yeah, realistically, if we're talking about any of these 3 matches, it goes like this. Sasha and Bayley is the one that makes the most sense for Hell in a Cell, just given their feud. Now, that being said, I'm going to say, given the time that's been put into this feud and how long we've all had to put up with it, because what we saw on Friday was not worthy of Hell in a Cell. That was the most boring logic that Sasha could ever give. She's still, and I told you this, Dave, I said this. Here's my problem. I have no reason to cheer for Sasha at the moment. The only thing Sasha did was convince me that she got beat up by Bayley and I'm supposed to cheer for her now. That's not that doesn't make you a babyface. Because you can't keep a friend, I'm supposed to cheer for you. You're both terrible people. You're not acting changed. You're not acting like you have remorse for any of the crap you did with Bayley. You are not a babyface. You're just the babyface by default in this feud, which is hurting it in the long run because it makes it harder to cheer Sasha in this feud. Now, so I mean, realistically, we're talking about time invested and whatnot, and how this should be a blood feud. Obviously, Sasha Bayley. But if we're talking about the match that has at least, let's say, the intensity is ratcheted up repeatedly, let's talk about, okay, then it has to be Drew and Randy Orton at that point.
Because it's the blow-off. I think all this has to be blow-offs. Sasha and Bayley is not going to be a blow-off.
Randy and Drew, at least you could say with Randy that he has an argument for it because he'd be like, I don't want all these freaking people getting involved in my match this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's the argument there that he wants to keep people out and keep them in, But when it comes to Jay and Roman, that one to me doesn't make as much sense to be in Hell in a Cell simply because it's the second match. I mean, Roman doesn't need it to be Hell in a Cell. It wouldn't do Jay any good to ask for a Hell in a Cell.
No,
I mean,
but it is a Hell in a Cell match because that way Roman can punish the crap out of him, and then maybe Jimmy stops it, or maybe somebody else comes down. I don't think anybody stops it this time. Somebody might want to stop it, but I don't think they'll be able to. I think that'll be the thing is they won't be able to stop it from happening this time. Yeah. Do you watch Talking Smack, by the way, Jeffrey?
Every once in a while, but not. I haven't watched it in a while.
Pretty good. So
I'll have to check it out. I haven't checked it out since way back when Daniel Bryan was on.
Yeah.
So, which I still maintain they should bring him back. He was great at it, but still. In any event, so that is our preview for almost said Hell in a Cell, but it's not. It's for NXT Takeover 31. I don't know how we got talking about Hell in a Cell, but
yeah, the preview is now for a couple of weeks because that's October 25th. Is
okay, good. We have a few weeks. But
it can't be worse than the Seth Rollins Fiend match from last year.
No, it can't be. You're right. But stay tuned with us because Monday we'll bring you our review of NXT Takeover 31. So be around for that. Make sure, again, you find us on all your social media, facebook.com/ESPR99, on the Twitter @ESPR99. Like us, follow us, and click the notifications, turn them on, so that way you know when we go live to talk about NXT Takeover.
Can I do one thing? Because I just
probably
want to say, because you don't care, and I don't care. Nobody cared about Kamala last night except for Corey Graves. So.
That's been true for a while.
Right, that's all I got. So,
that didn't just change today.
A lot of trash on social media, which is horrible. You should never be commenting about somebody's appearance or whatever else. It's just
that's garbage. Why?
Garbage. So
garbage. Don't be that person. Be better than that.
Yeah.
So, in any event, that's it for this week. Remember, I like I told you how to find us if you want to follow us on social media. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can listen to all of our previous episodes. Just go find us on your podcasting apps, search ESPR Wrestling. Go ahead and subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and a review. We greatly appreciate that. And until next week, when we review, again on Monday, NXT TakeOver, remember to eat, sleep, podcast, and
repeat. Good night, everybody.
Jeez.
It's dinner time.